So let's start by an introduction. So can you introduce yourself for us?
Yes, of course. I'm Robert Nucci, Dr. Robert Nucci, and I'm from Florida.
Fantastic. So you just purchased your first Italian property recently?
That's correct.
And where is it?
It is in Lecce, right outside the city center in Lecce.
Fantastic. And what inspired you to start thinking about buying property in Italy?
Well, my family is from Italy. I'm actually 100% Italian. My grandparents, most of them were born in Italy. One of them was born in the United States. And they moved to New Jersey, northern New Jersey. So I've had a connection with Italy from just being in the Italian area of New Jersey my entire life. And I'd been to Italy many times as a child when it was not so fashionable to go to Italy all the time. My parents would take me to Italy or take me and my sister to Italy and the areas in which our family was from.
So this was not a spontaneous decision?
No, not at all. And as I said, I had a much of a connection to Italy. Both my parents actually studied in Italy. They're both physicians, as I am. My mother studied medicine in Rome. My father studied medicine in Bologna. And so they had a strong Italian connection. So we felt we should come back to Italy a lot. So I felt very comfortable in Italy. I'd been there many times myself, my family, and so on. So there's always been a strong connection to Italy for me, as there has for many Italian Americans from the New Jersey, New York area. We feel a very strong connection to Italy that I don't think people fully understand. But when you're from northern Italy and you grew up in an Italian community, you have a very strong connection to the homeland, so to speak.
So you have had this strong connection for so long. What made you think that this was the decision to make at this point in your time, in your life?
I understand. Well, I've always to be in Italy. From the standpoint of why now, I think it's because of the heritage itself. The United States is great. It's a great place. Love it. It's fantastic. But there isn't the deeper family connection there that I felt in Italy. I didn't feel the connection so much, whether it's in New York City, whether it's near where I am now in Florida, that sort of connection to the community, the connection to other people. I love them. They're great, but I didn't feel the bond that I felt to people in Italy. And quite frankly, now I'm speaking for myself, but I think I'm also speaking for my sister who's here with me today here in Italy. We feel very comfortable here. We actually feel more comfortable in Italy than we do even in the United States, although we've grown up there, of course, our whole lives we spent there. So we feel very comfortable here and feels more like home than even the United States feels like home, frankly.
So out of all the regions in Italy, I believe that you have explored almost all of them, given your travels. Why did you choose Lecce?
Well, a couple of reasons. One is the family is from the south, outside Naples and Calabria. And as I said, I've been to those areas before. So there was a southern connection. So to a certain extent, we wanted to repatriate. We wanted to not be expats, so to speak, but sort of repatriate where the family originally from. And I believe our family goes back, I don't know, hundreds, thousand years. I don't know how far back it would go, but it's from the southern area. So the southern area was, let's really just start. As far as where in the southern area, we looked over in the Naples area, outside Naples and below, and it just wasn't quite right. We didn't go into the Calabria area so much. I don't think it's quite ready for, from what I understand, for starting a family there. It still needs some infrastructure work. So we went to Lecce just as a vacation. Actually, a friend of mine said, hey, Lecce is an interesting place. I hear a lot about it. So we said, now let's just go. So I went there actually for my birthday and with some friends of ours. And we walked around and we just fell in love with the city. It's a very happy city. It's a very fun city. It's a very clean city. And I wouldn't say it's not discovered, although I think it's been discovered at this point, but it's not quite as discovered, so to speak, as, say, Tuscany. So it seemed to fit the bill, very well. And the cost of living seemed to be very reasonable in Lecce as opposed to, anywhere else in northern Italy and certainly a place in the United States.
So in regards to the purchase process itself, what were your biggest concerns in the beginning?
Well, Italy is legendary for its bureaucracy and the difficulty of doing anything in Italy. So that's really the first thing. What we didn't really step by step. We tried to go with a systematic fashion, but certainly the bureaucracy was something that's always hanging over us, how to really to navigate that complicated system.
So where are the major differences between the Italian system and what you are used to at home?
Well, every place it has its own legal system. I mean, even in the United States, it's made up of 50 states or like 50 countries, and each has its own laws. And the laws of Florida are different than the laws of Georgia, so to speak. So there were differences just on the basis of just being a different place. But I was expecting, quirks, Italian quirks. You could do this, you couldn't do that. You had to do this way, you had to do that way. And to a certain extent, that's borne out. There is some quirks that we had to go through to navigate the system.
Was anything easier than what you originally expected?
Well, you're asking me particularly about, or at least I'm particularly about the bureaucracy. Frankly, working with the law firm, working with your law firm has made it tremendously easy. It was really so much easier than I thought. To have somebody who knows the system to have you navigate through it and tell you what to do and what not to do and how to make it all happen. So that has made it very easy, frankly. So the bureaucracy I've not really experienced, really very little, getting through the system and the purchase and so on has been very simple. Frankly, easier in the United States. For me anyway, much easier. As always, if you have the right people around you, you can get things done well. And clearly I picked the right people.
Did you encounter any unexpected challenges or the way during the purchase process?
Well, one of the big challenges, of course, the distance, right? So you're not there. So if you want to do something by email, you send an email. There's a time difference. So you send an email, they'll see it the next day, and they respond. You see it the next day. So everything is expanded in time. So it should be, maybe in the United States, take 1 day, it would take 3 days, just because of the distance and the time distance. The other challenge is money, frankly. Sending money, you can figure it out, but there's just a lot of steps that go when you're from the United States, I guess because of terrorism issues or whatever. You can't just send money. It has to go, if small amounts you can just send, but larger amounts, I don't know how large, a few thousand, whatever it is, you have to send it to your bank, and they send it to the central bank, and they send it to another bank, and they send it to the Italian bank. It's this whole thing. So if something needs to be paid, it does take a few steps, to do it. That was a challenge. I sort of knew that from other experiences to send money internationally. But it's surmountable. It's surmountable.
I believe that you were purchasing this property during the surveyor found out that there was a major discrepancy in the property and it ended up being fixed before the purchase. How did that go?
Well, that went fine. And again, I would have known. The property had a structure on it and an additional stable. They had horses that was built like 80 years ago or something, but it was not part of the original plans that went to the county. So the original plans that so to speak, to be there, that was extra and really couldn't be there. From what I'm finding out later, it's similar to the United States. For when you have a piece of property, you can build only so much on the property. The property's this big, you can only build a place that's that big. And in this case, the same idea. They have a property this big, the place that's this big, and they can build all of that. But they built a little bit more. Can't do that. It's got to be removed. You can only have so much physical structure on a piece of land. Similar to the United States, or at least similar to Florida, which I do know. So that was a little bit of a hiccup. It had to be removed, and the seller actually took care of it. And it was nice. I wish it was still there, but it's not, and that's fine. But that was taken care of. But that's something that I would not have known. That's something that the legal experts, had to look at and figure out for us.
In talking to real estate lawyers, how did you come in contact with us?
The truth is, I just looking on the internet and listening to some podcasts that I think the person who runs the company was giving on how to become an Italian citizen or how to buy real estate or how to navigate different legal aspects of Italy and so on. And I was just impressed. It seemed very, how shall I say? It seemed very informative and it seemed very helpful. It wasn't really a sales pitch, so to speak, but it was just very helpful. It helped me. And in looking at what was said, turns out it was indeed the case. There was not something else, because many times you hear one thing and turns something else. So that was one thing. And I said, they seem pretty smart. Then I had some of my attorneys in the United States look into the Italian firm here to the extent that they can, being in a different country. At least they can give me an idea. They said, they look pretty solid. So I just basically made a phone call and contacted them.
Amazing. And did you feel informed throughout the whole process, which you managed along with your case manager?
Absolutely. They're very, very good. Everything we asked, they were able to answer, very, very quickly. I tend to write my notes in the business that I have in a very clear fashion and not sort of ramble along. But specific points. And similarly, when I got my answers back, they were in those specific points were answered. It's always been excellent. I don't think anything has been dropped, anything's been forgotten. It's all been done, very, very systematically. So no, they've been excellent, very responsive, really, really quite great.
What would you say to somebody dreaming of buying a property in Italy but unsure or scared?
One of the things is that you have to decide where you want to be. If you're not Italian or don't have Italian heritage, and you could go anywhere, you need to go and look and see what area is the most pleasurable to you or the most interesting and so on. So you got to sort of look around, because all the places are very different. So that would be one thing we need to do, figure out where you may want to be. Some time to really do that. And another thing I think for me is how to get back to the United States. So if you plan to live here for, that's it, you're moving, that's one thing. If you're like, well, I'm going to be here 2 months a year, 3 months a year, 6 months a year, or I need to go back and forth for family or for business, being close to an airport is important, I think. One of the properties I was looking at in Maratea was great, just too far to get back and forth. A friend of mine is looking for places, and he's interested in that too. It's got to be close to an airport. So that's one thing. And the other thing is just how you feel about the place itself. Southern Italy has got its own, there are many different places in Southern Italy. It's got its own character. Northern Italy is more European, kind of not industrial, but more modern isn't the right word, but more like the United States. So you have to sort of decide where you want to be. If you want an apartment, you want a place that's a home. These are all big factors. Really, it's going to take some time to figure it out. So going again and would be helpful in looking at different areas.
Fantastic, Robert. We're at our last question. And the question is, since you have made this big step in your life, what you're most excited about and what does your future look like?
Well, I'm excited about it because it brings us back to repatriating to Italy. That's great. Figuring out the dynamics of how to make it all work, being and having some to be also, is something that we have to figure it out. You can only see, as I said, it's like mountains to the next mountain. It's only so far. And when you get to that top of the next mountain, you can sort of see the next challenges that are there. Then you navigate those. The long-term goal or the long-term idea is that this is where the family was from. We're from. This is where I think I want to have the family to have roots here again, either part-time or maybe even full-time at some point, and bring us back to the old country, so to speak. And so that's really the goal, and the culture, the religion, the food, the entire experience. I want to have rooted in Italy, rooted in a heritage. So that's the long-term goal. And then there's a series of things we have to get over in order to get to that long-term goal. When we're finally there, how to navigate the two sides, being the United States, being here, how much there, how to really do that. Haven't figured it out yet, but it's sort of coming together as we do it. We envision something, and then we make the reality happen around that. So that's where we are right now. Hopefully make it all happen. These are the early stages of things.